So yes, I'm going to present our project PROVITAO. We have developed in the ITED group, which is a multidisciplinary group in the University of La Laguna. We have very different fields working together, from computer science, psychology, educators, medical doctors, nurses, etc. And the problem that we want to tackle is obesity. Why are we focused on this project? Is because it's considered the most prevalent chronic disease in developed countries. Actually, obesity has doubled since 1980, as the World Health Organization says. And what is even worse is about 43 million children under the age of 5 which are overweight or obese. It has decreased slightly during the last couple of years, but it still remains like a huge problem. And in our country, things are not any better. On the contrary, we have 26.3% of the people, which is on the age from 2 to 24 years old, and they are overweight or with obesity. And in the Canary Islands, the place where we are, we have 32%. So the problem is huge, and what we want to do, because we are here in the Learn workshop, we want to do is use the technology to try to tackle the problem. How? As you know, gaming is probably the most natural way in which children learn. And also, we expect as we are going to increase their motivation and to reduce the sense of effort that they have to do in order to get involved in physical activities and in learning healthy habits. What are we going to use? All kind of active video games, like exercise games, sport games, learning games, active games like traditional ones, the devices, the new sensors that we have available. But are we the first ones that think about using the technology for this goal? Of course not. I think it's worth mentioning some of the initiatives. We have Let's Move, which is a comprehensive program that was led by Michelle Obama herself, and in which they try to prevent childhood obesity, and they went directly to schools, and they made a lot of initiatives inside this program, like contests to award the best applications for children's health. And talking about applications, we have applications like Lenny, in which children can compose their menu or diet, and then trying to know more about it, if they have lots or not of carbohydrates, if they're going to be good or not, if they're already suffering from diabetes. And then we have a bunch of technologies like the Lip Band, which is a kind of watch where you have a pet, which you have to entertain, having an active life, you have to feed, you have to prepare the menu, and then you get feedback from this pet. And you also have a couple of devices that you wear with you the whole day, and then the more active you are, the more points you get, and then you can use those points to either have free tickets to theme parks or something like that, so you have a real world reward, or you can go online and have games that you can only play if before you have been active enough. So there are plenty of initiatives in this field, but we still think that we need more. And that's why we plan our objectives in PROVITAO, which are twofold. First, it was to define an intervention for children in order to make a disease prevention and a promotion of healthy lifestyles. And at the same time, we want to validate the effectiveness of this intervention, both because we're both going to use motor games and active video games. Which is the methodology that we are going to use, or we have been using. So our project lasts 3 years, and we went through 2 editions of the whole intervention. And for each intervention, we just use, I guess you're familiar with this methodology. We have a control group and an experimental group. We pick up our group from the same target population. In the control group, we just make measurements during pre-intervention and post-intervention stage, but they don't participate in the intervention at all. And with the experimental group, they get the whole thing. And then we compare measurements at the beginning and at the end, and we try to get if there were significant difference among those groups. So what do we have to do during the pre-intervention stage? I think it's the really tough one. We didn't have to get involved with, in our case, with the hospital we collaborate with. We prepare the field work, and we make a study of our population, because obesity is not, the problem is not uniform and the reasons why it happens is not exactly the same everywhere. So we have to study the environment, what are the unhealthy habits, or the level of knowledge that they have about their diet. And we have to start making our criteria to pick up our population. In our case, those were children with age from 8 to 12 years old with a body mass index over the 97th percentile in reference table referred to our location. Actually, for the second edition, we also consider children with diagnosed type 2 diabetes. And we also have some exclusion criteria. So we need parents be willing to participate. We need those children having technologies at home so we can play with them. We can, at least they have to have some internet connection so we keep in contact with them. What are we going to measure at the beginning and at the end of each intervention? So we made like 3 dimensions of kind of metrics. We measure some biometrics like their weight, their height, their percentage of fat that they have in the body. We also measure some interactivity dimension with questionnaires about a gamer profile interview, attitudes towards video games. And then we have a third dimension, which is related to psychology and pedagogy, which are data about their interpersonal relationship, healthy habits, physical activity, their diet, their satisfaction with their parent training, etc. So we have a lot of information about the child and about the environments, also about their parents. While when we start the intervention, we divide the intervention in 3 stages. Each of those is 4 months. 3 months is a quarter of an academic year. And this process is completely gamified. We are using points and levels and scoreboards. And what are we doing with them is having a couple of hours of weekly sessions with the whole group together, playing with us. And then we have home sessions in which they go home and they continue doing some activities. With these sessions, we do the children educational program and the parent trainings activities. For the group sessions, we have the physical activities they do there, and we also develop an active video game that I'm going to describe briefly just afterwards. And for the help session, we are using off-the-shelf application like WeFit and some mobile apps that we recommend. What are we measuring during the intervention? Not before or after, but during the intervention. We also have a set of metrics to analyze during the intervention. Some of them are biometrics again, like pulsimeter and accelerometer during the games. Some others are ludic or emotional, like the scale of perceived effort, and this is quite important to us to look if games really change their perception of the effort that they've made. And a tool that we also developed, which is Emodiana, is trying to measure how the emotions that they're feeling. So how are you feeling? Which is the emotion that calls you the most right now? Which is the intensity and why? And that we do before the session and after the session, and then we compare how it varies. And last, we also take the video of the active game session, and after we try to look for how they interact with each other during the game sessions. So what's the video game that we develop? We don't have time. We don't have time to describe it completely, but briefly, it's an active video game based using the Kinect sensor. Then you have some goals you have to touch in the screen. And we have a designer, so just goals are not randomly there. We are designing physical exercise that the children have to do, or cognitive exercise, so we make questions which can reinforce what they have learned, and they have to answer, but they have to answer while moving in front of the screen. Okay, so that's the first part of the intervention with the group sessions and the home ones. And in the second quarter, they basically work at home, but they all still have some orientation activities with us. And while they work at home, they're in contact with us with IC tools, and they're still using some off-the-shelf tools to make active video games. But what's most important in this second part is a vocational project. What we ask them is to look in the surroundings, look at their own life, and just try to make a change in whatever they want to make a healthier life. Even have to go out, contact with the municipalities, learn how is their environment. After that, in the last part of intervention, they have to make it real. They have to realize the vocational project. So while we're still tutoring them, they have to make the changes in the lifestyle happen, and we have to look how it is going on. And this is the last step of our intervention. And once the step is closed, we go to the post-intervention stage, in which we have to evaluate how the whole process went, how was the educational part, how effective were the technology that we were using, and then we have to reevaluate all the metrics that we did in the beginning, just to compare how it was as a whole. Unfortunately, we are still in this stage of post-intervention, so we don't have the whole results yet. We have a questionnaire that we ask directly to the children about how they perceive it, but we don't have all the measurements. But these results about their satisfaction are, in general, quite good for us. So over 80% like coming to our sessions. 100% of them had fun. They like the educational games, and most of the field games and our active video game. About the active game that they have to practice at home, at the beginning, more of 80% had fun, but with time, we discovered that they started to get bored. And the reason they gave us why they get bored is, at least I think this is a challenge for us and the whole community, is they say that it's active video game, but they are playing alone, so interaction with others for them is huge. It makes a huge difference. And they perceive it's always the same game. So it should be something that changes dynamically, otherwise it's not going to work for them. The overall perception still is quite positive. 100% of them said that they have learned with experience, and over 90% they say physical activity has changed their lifestyle, and healthy eating have also changed their lifestyle. So that's the results that we have for now. But still working, analyzing the data that we have, and also preparing some other tools that we could improve what we already know about the intervention. This is the PROVITAO app, which is an app to be used during the whole intervention, where each of the professionals in the intervention is going to have a profile. Then we're going to be able to track set the goals and then track the progress of each of our students following those goals. Of course, filling all the information that we have about them. And then what they're going to see is their own profile with the points, levels, etc. that we will have. They are going to be challenged to do some things that are going to be able to vary during the time. And what is important for us, they're going to keep in touch with each other, and they are going to feel that they still are in the community even when the first step of the intervention is over. So we hope that with this tool we can improve the part of the second and third stage of intervention, which is the weakest at the moment. So that's all the information that I have for now, but I will be very happy to keep you updated in next month. Thank you.